Hello chess friends and welcome to Qxa4 Chess channel and welcome back to our Queen's Gambit Decline series. So in this series we're following this very nice opening from White's and from Black's perspective, and today we're continuing again with our Queen's Gambit Decline and the so-called Harrwitz Attack. The Harrwitz Attack we have explained so far with great games, and we had several continuations in the Harrwitz Attack. So in order to get a better understanding of this particular video, please watch my previous analysis, because first we had this idea of Blacks to counterplay with the move c5 against the Harrwitz Attack, and then we had also the continuation with the move b6, which was the so-called fianchetto defense against the Harrwitz Attack. So today we're analyzing different continuations for Black, which are in my opinion also good continuations. So in my opinion, the Harrwitz Attack is an equalish opening for Black and for White. So we're analyzing, of course, some good games for Black, but also some good games for White. And today's game is really a brilliant game, played by two world champions, played by Vishy Anand against Magnus Carlsen, back from the 2014 World Chess Championship. In this game, you witness really a brutal attack played by Vishy Anand against Magnus Carlsen. Here, Vishy will destroy Magnus Carlsen's defense in the Harrwitz Attack. Although we know that Magnus Carlsen won the World Championship match in 2014, still this was, I think, a worthy game to analyze, because in this game basically Magnus Carlsen was really helpless. In this game Vishy Anand pulled off a perfect Harrwitz Attack. If you put now the PGN into maybe in Stockfish analysis, it will show you that here Vishy Anand played basically the game without mistakes, inaccuracies or blunders. So this is really worth the study. But as I said, today we're analyzing different continuations. Today we're not analyzing the c5 and b6 continuations for Black that we have analyzed so far. So as I said, please watch this series from the beginning, because already we met some important strategical elements and you don't want to, of course, miss them also in this video. So let's check out now again, first of all, the Queen's Gambit Decline. Let's check out now the Harrwitz Attack of the Queen's Gambit Decline, and we have now the so-called two knights defense that was played here by Magnus Carlsen against the Harrwitz Attack of Vishy Anand. So let's check out now the game. So d4, we have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to f3, and after move d5, the game transposed from the anti-Nimzo Indian system into the Queen's Gambit Decline setup. Here, knight to c3, we have now the three knights variation of the Queen's Gambit Decline. We have now the move bishop to e7, normal stuff, and now we have the actual Harrwitz Attack move, which is of course the move bishop to f4. And as I said, here after move casting and e3, we have analyzed so far this continuation. We have analyzed the move c5, which is in my opinion really one of the best ways to proceed here, a very aggressive method. We have also analyzed this fianchetto defense with the move b6, but today we're starting now with the so-called two knights defense against the Harrwitz Attack. And there are now several things to say immediately about this position. I recommend you, my real honest recommendation, whenever you see this happening, c6, whenever you see a6, whenever you see knight from b to d7, your continuation should be simply the move c5. And in the beginning, it seems like a strange idea to fix the pawn structure like this, because you created sort of a pawn chain. Of course, it's a very annoying pawn chain to handle also from Black's perspective here, and the best ways really for Black here is to break the pawn chain somehow in the center with the move e5. But actually this pawn chain that White is building here is perfectly fine, because the cool part about the Harrwitz Attack is that your bishop, your dark square bishop, is already out, so it's already playing. If this bishop would be stuck somewhere on c1, then building such a pawn chain wouldn't be such a good idea, because then in one particular moment, as I said, Black would break the position with the move e5. But so far, the cool part about the Harrwitz Attack is that the bishop is out, so we have still a good control of the e5 square. And basically what Black needs to do now is simply to break the pawn chain here from this side of the board. Black has to break the pawn chain with a potential b6 move. But still, it's not so easy to play b6 immediately, because if you play b6 immediately, then you get, I think here, knight to b5 could be a dangerous idea, or c6 is even an opportunity to paralyze the position on the queen side further, because if you play, of course, knight to b8, which is now the only move that you have, then queen to a4 is very tricky. And even if you try queen to e8, you're leaving your c7 pawn a little bit unprotected. So now we can play even bishop to b5. The problem is now that the move a6 is not bringing you anything, because you can really never take out the bishop, because your rook is paralyzed here on a8, and the main issue is now the lack of development. You see here the bishop cannot come on this square, the bishop cannot come also on b7 with the potential c6 breakthrough. The knight is also paralyzed, and it would be really a weird position. I played several times a similar position where one pawn really paralyzed the whole queen side. So that's why here I have to move c5, which is, as I said, my recommendation when your opponent is not battling for the c5 score, when your opponent has not played the move c5 or has not played the move b6. So we have analyzed these two lines, as I said, c5 and b6 we have analyzed so far in the Harrwitz Attack series, so please check out that video. So here I have to move knight to d7, my recommendation, as I said, c5, and we're analyzing now more and more of this stuff today, as I said, with a great gameplay by Vishy against Magnus Carlsen. In the continuation of our Harrwitz Attack series, we're analyzing also different ideas, c6, a6, and similar stuff. So here Magnus pull off the normal c6 move, which is preventing c6, we have said, by black, and also by white, pardon me, and also this move knight to b5, which could be very dangerous because then the c7 would be a long-term weakness. So here after move c6, we have now bishop to d3, and now Magnus Carlsen tries to liberate himself, which is also a natural idea. And don't get too maybe too playful with this position, because it's nothing wrong here for black. Black will not immediately lose the game because you pull off here the c5 move, because you have a space advantage. Still, it's a slightly better position for white, of course, but black has also decent ideas here, because here Magnus started to break the pawn chain, as we said, on the queen side with now b6 ideas. Here the continuation, we have now b4. Here Vishy Anand is relying simply on his space advantage on the queen side, and now Magnus is continuing the pressure here with the move a5. The problem is what you should not do is to take out like this with c takes b6, then a takes b4 can happen, and you see now you have to move the knight. This pawn is now very annoying because it's protected by the bishop, and in one moment we can also take out the pawn on b6. Then you see black is actually continuing the pressure on the a file. The a2 pawn is a little bit weak, so you should not react here from white's perspective. You should basically wait black to recapture. So that's why here after move a5, here Vishy Anand protected his pawn chain further with the dark square pawn move, played simply the move a3. He keeps, as I said, what he wants to get is still this space advantage on the 5th rank. He wants to stay with this very, very important strategical element. And now we have to, I think, say several things further about this position. What we can notice now that black is here really a bad bishop situation, which is the bad bishop is on c8. The bad bishop is bad because it's blocked out by its own pawn chain, by this pawn structure e6, d5, and c6. So that's why we can notice also that here the light square bishop of white is really the best minor piece on the board. So that's why black wants to trade off here the light square bishop by playing the move bishop to a6. Getting rid of the bad piece immediately, trading off for a good piece for white is also a perfect idea. And now Vishy Anand played bishop takes a6, and now after move rook to a6, now the actual fun starts. Because here I want you really to memorize one line, and I think if you're a Harrwitz Attack player, you meet this position many times, you play this position many times. Now it's time to break through, because black has not reacted here. As we said, we have played a3, b4, c5. Black never really traded off any pawns here on the queen side, so now it's time to get use of our space advantage on the queen side by pushing the pawn on b5. And that's exactly what Vishy Anand did. He sacrificed here a pawn just in order to get a very nice attack on the queen side. Here after move b5, c takes b5, we don't want to take, that's not the actual idea of this attack. We want to play this move c6, very important move. Now the knight has to move. Of course, first of all here queen to c8 was played by Magnus Carlsen, because if you play of course knight to b8, then of course c7 you get the fork, and then it's simply game over. So that's why here queen to c8 you don't want to take actually, because then queen to c3 is happening. You gained nothing here from white's perspective. So that's why c7 here played by Vishy, and it's really now an annoying pawn. And you see now how Magnus Carlsen will have really serious problems to handle this pawn on c7. It's really one of the most annoying pawns that I've seen in my life, but actually this is still main theory of the Harrwitz Attack, so against this two knight defense that Magnus Carlsen plays. So this is a line that I really want you to memorize. This is a line that in my opinion you should try to play. It's a sharp line. It's a line where you're giving up maybe one pawn in an early stage of the game, but you gain at least something. I think the attack that you get is really pleasant to play. I played several times also this position, and I had really a good success here from white's perspective. So after move c7, we have now b4. We have now knight to b5, protecting further here the pawn on c7. If we try b takes a3, nothing wrong. Still we can castle. Maybe our bishop can get challenged with knight to h5, but now queen to c2 after knight to f4, e takes f4. I think still that white is a good position, because in the next move we'll try knight to e5. Then if knight takes e5, we could maybe even play f takes e5, and then it's even time to occupy, maybe when one pawn comes here on e5, then it's time even to occupy maybe here the d6 square. Then after bishop to d6, we could maybe play something like e takes d6. Let's see now, maybe this one, knight to e5, knight takes e5, f takes e5, and let's see, just playing maybe a couple of bad moves. I think here also an interesting idea is here the move knight to d6, because after bishop takes d6, here e takes d6, that would be one of the main strategic goals, to get maybe here two pawns connected on the 7th and 6th rank. So this would be, I think, an unpleasant game here for black to play. So after move knight to b5, in the continuation we have now a4 by Magnus Carlsen. What Magnus is actually also trying to do is get b3. b3 would be very annoying, I think, also for white to handle, because then black would have two connected pawns on the queen side. Then the b3 would be supported by the a4 move. In the continuation, Vishy tried now rook to c1, protecting further the position here around the square c7. The c7 is actually our main attacking motif, so that's why Vishy is protecting this pawn further. We have knight to e4, and now a brilliant move, which I played also several times in different positions, this tactical maneuver, because you can play actually the move knight to g5. It's a sacrificing idea, but the d6 square is now something that we really want to occupy in the continuation of the game, because in this scenario, maybe let's see, knight to g5, bishop to g5, here bishop to g5, you can play this one, knight to d6, and then the queen has to move, and then we can promote here to c8. So we want really to deflect this bishop from the defense of the d6 square. That's now the main tactical goal of our Harrwitz attack continuation. So that's for the move knight to g5. Here Magnus of course didn't fall for this. He played knight to f6. We have knight to e4, knight to e4, and now f3, kicking away the knight, and now rook to a5. And here it was, I think, maybe even the first inaccuracy by Magnus. He played a counter attack, but he should have played this counter attack in a different way. In my opinion, you see now after move rook to a5, we have here this continuation, f takes e4, rook takes b5, and now queen to a4 was played by Vishy Anand, and now Vishy grabbed another pawn. In my opinion, I've analyzed really tough this game here with the move rook to a5. Instead of that, I think queen to d7 with the counter attack against the knight is much better, because the knight doesn't have any squares to escape. So now in a potential continuation, okay, white can take f takes e4, now rook to c8. We're playing first the blockade against this potential promotion on c8, and now if you want to take, of course, here you can take e takes d5, but now after e takes d5, the knight is trapped again. So but you don't have to lose the a4 pawn in this scenario. And now in the continuation, maybe something like castling. Now finally black can take queen takes b5, and still white is slightly better. And I'm not saying that black is winning the game, because black would have played this continuation, but in my opinion, staying with this a4 pawn would be a very important continuation here from Magnus Carlsen. As we said, he played, instead of this rook to a5, here Vishy takes f takes e4, we have rook takes b5, and now queen to a4. Now the queen comes with a very important tempo into the game. I think you can now realize the difference between this continuation and the other continuation that I'm suggesting. So here after move queen to a4, we have rook to a5, but now queen to c6 is coming, and the queen gets more and more active. So here b takes a3, we have now e takes d5, rook to d5, we have queen takes b6. You see now the queen is dancing all over the place. Really wild stuff, because in this scenario it seems to me that here white is tactically winning. We can also expect in one particular moment the move queen to b8, because if queen takes b8, then of course c takes b8 comes with a new promotion of the queen. So that's why here in the continuation we have queen to d7, now castling, we have rook to c8, and now rook to c6. Very important move here by Vishy Anand, never really allowing here some maybe trades of bishops and similar stuff, because now Vishy Anand is controlling the d6 square, which we said in the continuation of the game it was a very important tactical square sort of for white here. So g5 here played by Magnus. We have bishop to g3, bishop to b4, and now rook to a1. We have bishop to a5 attacking the queen, and now we have here the queen to a6. In the continuation of the game here, Magnus Carlsen played bishop takes c7. He didn't find really good moves, but now he gets pinned on the c file. It's game over here for the world champion Magnus. After queen to c4, there are simply too many tactical threats here. In the continuation, we have now e5, bishop to e5, rook to e5, d takes e5. Still you cannot move the bishop, of course, and after move e6, we have king to f8, and after rook to c1. In this position, Magnus resigned. Brilliant attack here really by Vishy Anand. As I said, if you put the PGN into some stockfish analysis, it will show you no mistakes, inaccuracies, all blunders by the legendary Vishy Anand. Great destruction. This annoying pawn on c7, he held through the whole game. Magnus Carlsen really didn't find good counterplays here. I think even the world champion Magnus got a little bit surprised here by this direct attack by Vishy, and it was an incredible game. Although, as we said, Vishy lost the world championship match against Magnus in 2014. So let's go back to the critical line. As is, we're repeating this a little bit. After bishop to f4, we have the Harrwitz attack. Black can respond with after castling, and e3 can respond with c5 b6. These lines we have analyzed before, but whenever you see c6 or a6 or knight from b to d7, whenever black is not battling for the c5 score, immediately my opinion is that you should occupy here the c5 score from white's perspective, immediately get a space advantage and battle simply here by building a further dark square pawn chain here, and then maybe if it's possible to play this very beautiful pawn breakthrough motif like Vishy did after rook to a6 here, b5, c takes b5, and then c6. That will be now our cornerstone of the attack. We'll analyzing now more and more and different ideas for white and for black, because there are also many games that were won by black. So as I said, it's simply something worth to study from both sides, because you can play the Harrwitz attack, but you can also play against the Harrwitz attack, because it's a beautiful chess opening. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Brilliant game by the legendary Vishy Anand. And if you want to study the Harrwitz attack more, please check out my commented chess games so far. We have created this playlist of the Harrwitz attack of our Queen's Gambit Decline series. And if you have trouble maybe to play as black, check out my Nc3 Ndf6 series and my hyper accelerated Rxc7 Defense series as good responses to d4 and e4. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.